Imagine this. Two people, same alarm clock, same morning. One pulls the blanket tighter, whispering, 5 more minutes. The other springs out of bed, sits tall, breathes deeply, writes a few words of intention, and attacks the hardest task of the day. Same city, same world. But one will rise as a leader while the other stays trapped in the cycle of delay. So what makes the difference? Not luck, not genius, not some hidden advantage. It's one word: discipline. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's the truth the Stoics lived by. Discipline is not a prison, it is the path to freedom. It is the foundation of strength, the armor of the mind. The one force that makes you unshakable when life hits hard. In today's journey, I'll share with you 10 Stoic laws, time-tested rules from over 2,000 years ago that will train your mind and transform the way you live. So, take a breath, lean in, and if you haven't already, subscribe to The Stoic Habit, because this is where warriors of the mind are forged. Let's begin. Law number 1. Morning victory. They say, win the morning, win the day. And the Stoics knew this truth thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, didn't begin his mornings with politics, letters, or the chaos of the empire. No, he began with his mind. In his meditations, he reminded himself, "Today I will meet selfish men, jealous men, deceitful men, but none of this will drive me away from my own virtue." Think about that. The most powerful man in the world, starting not with armies or wealth, but with his own thoughts. Now, fast forward to us. What's the first thing we reach for in the morning? The phone. Messages, notifications, emails. And before we've even had a sip of water, we've surrendered our mind to the noise of other people's lives. But morning victory means something else. It means building a mental fortress before the world can invade. It doesn't have to be complicated. 10 minutes of movement, 3 lines of gratitude, or even 2 minutes of silent breathing. The activity matters less than the intention. What matters is that you begin the day with your will, not the world's demands. Because every consistent morning ritual is a promise kept to yourself. And each time you keep that promise, you tell your mind, "My word has power, I can trust myself." That trust becomes the first brick of discipline. And discipline, brick by brick, becomes the wall that protects your peace, your focus, and your strength. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm rings, remember this. You have a choice: to stay in bed or to rise and claim your victory. Law number 2, emotional responsibility. Epictetus, once a slave, later a great philosopher, said, "It is not the things themselves that disturb us, but the way we interpret them." Think about your own life. How many times has a single word ruined your entire day? A harsh comment, a delayed reply, a stranger's glare on the road. That is the sign that you are living as a slave to your emotions. The Stoics teach us something powerful. Between every event and every reaction, there is a space. And inside that space lies your freedom. Picture this. 2 drivers stuck in traffic. One honks, screams, and stays angry for hours. The other breathes deeply, plays music, and turns the moment into a lesson in patience. Same situation. 2 completely different experiences. Why? Because the meaning was chosen differently. And here's the truth. It's not the world that breaks you. It's the story you tell yourself about the world. So next time anger rises, pause. Take 3 deep breaths. And ask yourself, is the story I'm telling myself true? If I respond differently, what could happen? What would the strongest version of me do right now? This is not abstract theory. This is a practice. a skill you can train every day until calmness becomes your default. Because when you master your emotions, you master your life. When you stop giving others control over your mood, you become free. So remember this: you don't always control what happens, but you always control what happens inside you. And that choice, that discipline, will separate the weak from the unstoppable. Law number 3, mastery of the now. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." Simple words, but they carry the weight of a lifetime of wisdom. Most people live everywhere, except here. They replay past regrets on repeat. They fast forward into future fears that haven't even happened. And in doing so, they miss the only place where life truly exists: now. Think of your own days. Scrolling endlessly, comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. Mind scattered, focus shattered, energy drained. The Stoics had a word for the cure: prosoche, total attention to the present moment. Because when your mind is here, clarity sharpens, your emotions steady, and your decisions rise above chaos. Remember the times you felt most alive. Maybe it was in deep conversation with someone you love. Maybe during an intense workout where every breath mattered, or while creating something meaningful. In those moments, you weren't anywhere else. You were here. Modern science calls it flow. The Stoics simply called it discipline. So how do you train it? Ask yourself, what is the most important thing I can do right now? Not tomorrow, not someday, now. If you're eating, taste the food. If you're walking, feel the ground beneath your feet. If you're speaking, give the other person your full attention. This isn't just mindfulness, it's mental strength. Because every time you catch your thoughts drifting and bring them back, you are lifting a weight in the GYM of the mind. Life only happens in this moment. And every moment you master, you build a life you will not regret. So, choose now. Because now is all you ever truly own. Law number 4. Turning barriers into breakthroughs. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, betrayal, and even a deadly plague. And yet he wrote these immortal words: "The obstacle to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is not just philosophy. It's a radical way of living. Most people see obstacles as stop signs. They hit a wall and they quit. They see struggle as punishment, as proof that they're not good enough. But the Stoic sees something different. They see every barrier as a teacher, every setback as a tool, every weight as a chance to grow stronger. Think of how muscles are built, not through comfort, but through resistance. Every rep, every ounce of strain, tears the muscle just enough so it can rebuild stronger. Your character grows the same way. That heartbreak, that rejection, that failure. It feels like a wall. But in truth, it is the GYM where your spirit is trained. So the question is not, why me? The question is, what is this moment trying to teach me? History is filled with this truth. An entrepreneur rejected by dozens of investors learns persistence and builds a stronger company. An athlete injured in their prime learns resilience and returns even sharper. The obstacle doesn't end their journey. It becomes the journey. The Stoics called this mindset amor fati, the love of fate. Not just accepting hardship, but embracing it. Saying, this too is mine. This too will shape me. So when life places a stone in your path, don't curse it. Step on it. Rise higher. Because the barrier is not your enemy. The barrier is your ladder. Law number 5. Choosing hardship on purpose. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, would often sleep on the floor, wear rough clothing, and eat the simplest of meals. Why? Not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he understood a profound truth. Self-imposed discomfort builds real strength. Modern life teaches us the opposite. We chase comfort at all costs. Perfect temperature, endless entertainment, food delivered at the tap of a button. And slowly, without realizing it, we become soft, so fragile that even the smallest inconvenience feels like a crisis. The Stoics refused to live that way. They knew comfort dulls the spirit, that too much ease weakens both the body and the mind. So they chose hardship voluntarily so that when real storms arrived, they were ready. Think of it like training. A soldier doesn't wait for the battlefield to learn how to fight. He practices under pressure, so when war comes, discipline is second nature. Your life works the same way. Take cold showers. Skip a meal and feel real hunger. Walk instead of drive. Do the harder thing not to punish yourself, but to prepare yourself. Science now proves what the Stoics already knew. Cold exposure sharpens focus. Fasting strengthens the brain. Physical strain builds mental resilience. This is called cross-stress adaptation, when enduring one kind of stress makes you stronger against all kinds of stress. And here's the secret. The more you practice discomfort, the less it scares you. The more you stretch your tolerance, the more freedom you gain. Epictetus said, "Freedom is not achieved by fulfilling every desire, but by controlling desire itself." So ask yourself, what small hardship will you choose today so that tomorrow nothing can break you? Law number 6, the mortality mirror. Marcus Aurelius kept a simple reminder on his desk, a skull, not to be morbid, but to remind himself of one unshakable truth. You could die today. The Stoics called this practice memento mori, remember death, not as a curse, but as a compass. Because when you remember that life is fragile, you see what truly matters. Most people live as if time is endless. They delay their dreams. They waste hours scrolling, arguing, chasing trivial things. They act as though they'll live forever. But death is the only certainty we have. Think about the moments when mortality became real to you. The sudden loss of someone close. A health scare that shook your world. Or witnessing an accident that left you frozen. In that instant, everything became clear. Petty fights seemed foolish. Unfinished goals felt urgent. And wasted time looked tragic. That is the gift of death reflection. It burns away the noise and leaves only what matters most. You don't need a crisis to find this clarity. You can choose it every day. Ask yourself in the morning, if today were my last, how would I live it? And at night, if I died tonight, would I be proud of how I lived today? This isn't about fearing death. It's about loving life so fiercely that you refuse to waste it. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." So hold up the mortality mirror. Let it guide your choices. Live with urgency. Live with intention. Because one day you won't get another morning. Law number 7, power through imagined loss. Epictetus taught his students a shocking practice. When you kiss your child goodnight, whisper to yourself, "They may be gone tomorrow." Not to invite tragedy, but to awaken gratitude. The Stoics called this exercise premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortune, imagining loss so that you are never destroyed by it, and instead strengthened by it. Most people worry passively. They obsess about losing their job, their health, their loved ones, but they do it in fear, without preparation. Anxiety grows, resilience weakens. The Stoic turns worry into training. Once a week, they picture the worst. Not to collapse, but to rehearse. To ask, if I lost this, how would I respond? How would I rise? What inner strength would I discover? This practice creates powerful results. First, it deepens gratitude. When you imagine losing your sight, suddenly, every sunrise becomes a miracle. When you picture losing your ability to walk, every step feels sacred. When you consider losing someone you love, every conversation becomes priceless. Second, it builds resilience. If the loss does come, you are not caught unprepared. You've trained your mind. You've felt the weight and learned you can carry it. Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust, once said, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." This is the very heart of Stoic strength. So do not fear the exercise. Practice it. Imagine loss not to live in sorrow, but to live in gratitude. Because when you know you can endure the worst, you become unstoppable in living your best. Law number 8. Become the person your goal demands. Epictetus once said, "First decide who you want to be, then do what you must do." Most people approach discipline backward. They chase results without changing their identity. They say, "I want to lose weight," but they don't live as someone who values health. They say, "I want success," but they don't live as someone who shows consistency. They dream of outcomes without becoming the kind of person who can actually hold them. The Stoics remind us, every action is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. When you exercise, you cast a vote to be someone strong. When you write, you cast a vote to be a creator. When you show patience, you cast a vote to be wise. Identity is not fixed. You are not born disciplined or scattered. You are not born courageous or fearful. These traits are sculpted by daily practice. Think about the most disciplined person you admire. They didn't wake up that way. They became that way through thousands of small choices repeated until discipline became their nature. So here's the question you must ask yourself. Who do I want to become? Not what you want to have, but who you want to be. Do you want to be healthy? Then eat as a healthy person would eat today. Do you want to be successful? Then use this evening as a successful person would use it. Do you want to be calm? Then respond right now as a calm person would. Every time you act in line with that identity, you lay a brick in the foundation of your future self. You don't transform overnight. You transform one disciplined choice at a time. So decide, and then become. Law number 9. Build the process, not just the prize. Seneca once wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." He understood something we often forget. That progress is not built on goals alone, but on systems. Most people obsess over outcomes. They set lofty goals: lose 20 pounds, write a book, earn more money. At first, motivation is high, but weeks later, the fire fades. They feel stuck, empty, defeated. Why? Because goals are short-lived. You reach one, and then what? You feel the high for a moment, then you're anxious about the next mountain. Or worse, you fall short, and the failure crushes you. The Stoics knew better. They saw that real change comes not from what you want, but from what you repeatedly do. This is why process matters more than the prize. If your goal is strength, don't obsess over lifting 200 pounds. Focus on the habit of training daily. If your goal is wisdom, don't obsess over finishing 50 books. Focus on the habit of reading one page each morning. If your goal is success, don't obsess over the end result. Focus on consistent actions that build the foundation. Systems free you from relying on motivation. Motivation is whether it comes and goes. Systems are shelter. They hold even in the storm. Marcus Aurelius had his own system. Each morning, he wrote his intentions. Each night, he reviewed his actions. Not chasing a finish line, but building character, brick by brick. So design your own system. Simple, repeatable, unshakable. Because when you trust the process, the results will take care of themselves. Goals define where you're going, but systems determine whether you'll get there. Law number 10. Virtue is the real victory. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, had wealth, power, and influence beyond measure. Yet he wrote, "Very little is needed for a happy life, It is all within your mind. The Stoics understood something most people never realize. True victory is not in money, status, or pleasure. True victory is in virtue. The world chases external rewards. A bigger house, a higher title, more recognition. But all of these can be lost in an instant, stolen, ruined, or forgotten. What cannot be taken from you is your character, your wisdom, your courage, your justice, your self-control. The Stoics called these the four virtues, the pillars of an unshakable life. Wisdom, seeing reality clearly, not through fear or fantasy. Courage, acting rightly even when fear is loud. Justice, treating others with fairness and integrity. Temperance, mastering desires, not being mastered by them. With these virtues, you are free. A thief can empty your bank account, but not your integrity. An enemy can insult you, but not stain your honor. Fate can strike your body, but it cannot touch your soul unless you allow it. Epictetus, once a slave, found his freedom in virtue. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This is the heart of discipline, not chasing what glitters, but anchoring yourself to what lasts. So ask, before every decision, will this make me wiser? Will this make me braver? Will this make me just? Will this strengthen my self-control? Because the greatest revenge is not to become like your enemy. The greatest wealth is the wealth of character, and the greatest victory is to live with virtue. Conclusion. Discipline is not a prison, it is the key to true freedom. It doesn't turn you into a cold machine, it forges you into someone strong, wise, and unshakable when life strikes hardest. So here's your challenge. Choose just one of these 10 Stoic laws and live it for the next 30 days. Watch how your life begins to shift. If this message spoke to you, give it a like, share it, and subscribe for more Stoic wisdom. And in the comments, write, "I choose discipline over ease. I am becoming unstoppable."